Good morning and welcome back to the channel. This video is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. Do your own research, make your own decisions. There's literally no way I could catch up on every single thing. I have everything written down. There's so many things to go over. There's so many things happening right now all around the world. So I'm just going to have to break it up into different videos over this weekend. I will try to catch up on things this weekend. I know I said that last weekend, but this weekend I'm really going to try to do that. I am going to spend most of the day with my grandma, but I'll try to get a video out tonight, and I'm pretty free tomorrow, so I'll be able to do more videos over the next couple days. Okay, so I just want to, as opposed to going into all the different things that are happening right now, guys, the global economy, really everything is in a state of collapse. And I mean, you could argue with that point if you'd like, but it's getting harder and harder to deny the reality of what's happening. And as I said about a month ago, reality is going to show up in 2022. In my personal opinion, we're going to see panic set in with the general public, and this is going to happen, in my opinion, in most every single country all around the world, because denial only lasts so long. I'm speaking personally here because I used to live in a state of denial about numerous different things. I had a very different lifestyle early on in my life, and I just denied the reality of what was happening in front of me and the consequences to my own actions. And you can do this for a period of time, okay? Some people do this their entire life. But at some point in time, you know, if you continue to live that way, you continue to deny what's happening in front of you, and you continue to act like these things aren't happening, at some point in time, reality shows up, and it's very uncomfortable when that happens. And what this is going to look like for normal everyday people is probably going to be something to the effect of they notice that they're buried in debt, that they're not making enough money to pay their bills, that they don't have enough food on hand, and that they're completely screwed. And there's nowhere to go because now the economy is collapsing. They thought that they were going to have time to pay everything off and to figure it out. And they had years and years and years to take care of this. And so there was no real reason to worry about it now. And unfortunately, they're going to be, it's going to be a rude awakening for a lot of people. And that's going to happen this year, in my opinion. And I think it's going to lead to panic. I think it's going to lead to panic buying at stores when it comes to food and other essential goods and services. I think it's going to lead to riots. I think it's going to lead, to a lot of, it's going to be chaos, I think. And I hope that's not the case. But guys, listen, I don't make decisions and then after the decision, try to justify or try to explain away what I want to happen. Okay, so I look at everything that's happening. I look at the actual reality of what's happening in front of me. And I look at the trends and I say, okay, given all this information, where do I think that we're going? And then I act accordingly based on that. I think too many people are just acting accordingly based on what they would like the situation to be or what they would like to happen moving forward. And then after they take those actions, then they try to justify why it is that something that's completely illogical is going to happen because they want it to happen. All right, so just want to draw a distinction there. All right, guys, so I want to go into a couple different things here. Just want to make a few points. So I've said this like a few weeks ago, but I'm not looking at crypto like I'm investing in crypto. Like these are normal times and I'm just making, you know, a tech investment. I am looking at it like I'm getting rid of my old money that they're getting rid of. Okay, I'm exchanging my old money for new money. That's how I'm looking at this. Because we're living through a global economic reset where they're getting rid of old money and they're introducing new money in a new system. Now, this new money, there's going to be different types of new money, but the specific new money that I am transitioning over to, that I'm exchanging my old money for, it has the added benefit of appreciating in value over time. It has the added benefit of even having the potential to do that because these are just another form of stock that are more liquid, that can be spent out at stores, that can be exchanged for other goods and services, that can be exchanged for other stocks. And so it's just the next evolution of money is essentially what we're looking at. So I'm exchanging my old money for new money. Now, as a part of that process, could I exchange my old money for new money, let's say at $100, and all of a sudden my new money now says it's worth $80. Yes, that is a part of the process, okay? That comes with the territory. Am I ever going to buy at a certain price point, exchange at a certain price point, and then the price of my new asset goes down? 100%. I'm never going to avoid being able to do that, because I think that if you look at the entire retail investor population, I think that 99.9% of them have bought at a certain price point and then it went down after they bought. All right, it just comes with the territory, because the way they structure this market, there's a lot of psychological manipulation that happens in this market, in my personal opinion, and a lot of it is designed to get people scared, to make them think that they made a mistake. Let me ask you a question, and I'm speaking directly to you. Knowing what this is, and most of you know what this is, if I would have told you last year this time that over the next, actually I did tell everybody this. I said it in my video. We're in implementation. The decision has already been made. When I was at the beach, when my portfolio was 30% in the red, Elon was just spreading, putting out that FUD about energy, whatever, that he's going to have to stop taking Bitcoin as payment for Tesla. I said it in that video. I said we're about to see all these major corporations and banks and governments start adopting this technology at a rapid pace, because this is the beginning of the implementation process. Now, I said that last year. Now, if you go back to exactly where we were last year at this time, 11 months ago, okay? It's almost exactly last year. So if you go back and you look at what all the other content creators were saying, and what they were, talking about, and oh, this is really bad, and so on and so forth, and this and that and the other, and this could be it could be over. We got to wait for 3 more years, and blah, 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 right? And I said, guys, we're about to see all the major corporations, banks, and governments start rolling this out. This is the implementation phase. What I am watching is a strategic, organized implementation process that's going to happen all around the world, and it's about to start very, very soon. So just pay attention, because we're about to start seeing announcements come out one after the other. And that's exactly what happened. Now, the price didn't follow what you would expect to happen after something like that takes place, right? But if I would have told you, and I did, but if you would have known that what I was saying was 100% true, that was about to happen, how would you have acted? If you would have known that all of these assets, all these technologies and these companies were going to start to be adopted by all the largest corporations, banks, and governments in the world, what would you have done? You would have said, oh shit, I'm running out of time. I got to get as much as I can, or at least have to get some respectable position, because this is happening right now. Okay, that's what most people would have done if they knew for sure, if they could see the future, not the future of the price, but if they could see the future of what was going to happen with adoption as it relates to corporate America and large corporations all over the world. If they knew that all of Wall Street, all of big tech, all the big four, all the big asset managers, other large corporations, banks, and governments, if they knew that they were about to start adopting this, and it was going to happen over a 12-month period, and we were just going to see announcement after announcement after announcement. If they knew that, but they didn't know what was going to happen with the price, most every single retail investor would have said, oh shit, I need to start stacking. All right, now, being able to look back, I think that we could all say that would be the most logical, rational course of action, because we all assumed that major corporate adoption across the board was going to lead to price appreciation. We all assumed that, or at least I assumed that. I don't want to, project my own beliefs or thoughts onto you. I assumed that, and I believe that others did as well. Now, that did not happen, because for the most part, we have just been going sideways for a year. Now, over the last year, supply's been going down rapidly. So what we assumed was the best course of action what I assumed was the best course of action, accumulate, 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 given what's happening, is what the billionaires and institutions also assumed was the best course of action because that's what they did. So what's the logical explanation as to how we have gotten to where we are right now with 12 months of major corporations, banks, and governments all around the world adopting this technology synchronistically across the board and coming out making big announcements, billionaires coming out saying, I'm putting 20%, 50%, 80%, whatever it may be of my portfolio into these assets? We would have all assumed that that would have had some effect on price. And since it has not, what's the logical explanation? Is it just that everybody's getting out of crypto? Well, I don't have any evidence to support that. I have the evidence to support the opposite of it, that there's just more and more and more institutions, billionaires, large corporations, governments getting into the space, not getting out of it. So the only conclusion I can come to is that they're suppressing the price. Now, for me to be able to adopt that as a rational explanation as to what's happening, I have to be able to make sense of how they're doing that. Just saying that they're doing it doesn't work for me. Okay, I have to be able to understand how it works, or at least I have to be able to come up with multiple different theories that could be possible explanations that are not out of the realm of possibility, to be able to make sense of it. And so that's what I've done. And so that's what I always fall back to, what makes the most sense to me, not what the majority opinion is saying, not what some, schmuck on the internet is saying this and that and the other. And you should take that same approach to me. I default to what makes the most sense to me. And when I have money invested in a certain thing, in this case, crypto, and so I put money in. Now, on the opposite side, I get a number on a screen telling me what that's worth day to day. Now, from the in-between, okay, from me putting my money in to me seeing that number on the side, I have to know what happens in between that. I have to know how that works. I have to know how that number, they come up with that, all right? And so I would just recommend reading a lot of these white papers, guys. For most of these altcoins, either they're not going to list on their white paper how the price of their token is determined, or they will, and you will find that it is determined based on a liquidity pool, that as liquidity is added to their staking pool, their liquidity pool, then the price goes up. As liquidity is withdrawn, price goes down. Okay, now it doesn't work like this uniformly across the board with all altcoins, but it does work like that with many of the altcoins. So meaning that somebody can withdraw from staking, not sell anything, and price drop. That people can not buy anything, but add liquidity to staking and price go up. So in many of these situations, the price of that token is not based off of buying and selling. It's based off of the percentage of tokens that are allocated to staking or to their liquidity pool. Okay. Now, for Bitcoin, it works in a different way, and that's why this market is, I encourage education around people doing their own research around all of these things, because if you don't understand in a general sense, and I don't understand exactly how everything works, okay? I don't understand exactly how the derivatives market works, but I've put in additional time into studying it, because if you don't know how something works, if you don't know what happens where we can't see it in a general sense, you're susceptible to bad information. And the more that you learn yourself, the more that you understand, the less susceptible you are to stupid people saying stupid things, passing it off as the truth, as opposed to saying, this is my opinion. Okay, that's why I always try to say my opinion as much as I possibly can, and separate fact from opinion. Okay, so I'm getting all over the place. I'm kind of going on a incoherent tangent at this point. But guys, it's important to understand that there has to be information warfare, and I'm going to explain why. Think about if 3 years ago, back when life was relatively normal, that they would have came out, let's just say Trump would have came out and made an announcement, or let's just say the Treasury Department, not necessarily President. Treasury Department and the Fed were to come out and they were to give a joint press conference to the American people, and let's just say that this happens in whatever country that you're in, because I have people watching all over the world, so that they would come out and they were to say, hey guys, because of just the general efficiency and the antiquated systems that we're using for our technology, for our financial system, it makes the most sense for us to upgrade the systems that we're using and to transition to digital currency, as opposed to continue to create bills. It's inefficient, it's wasteful, it's hurting climate change, all of these other things. Okay, we can't continue to create all these physical coins and dollars and everything. It just doesn't make sense. It leads to too much counterfeiting. It's hard to be able to keep track of all these things and to audit where all this money is. So that being said, we're going to transition to digital currency, and we're going to be doing this implementation over the next year. We just wanted to make everybody aware it's not going to affect your overall, the money that you have in your bank, or there's no issues. We're just transferring and transitioning over to digital currency. Imagine if they were to come out and give a press conference and tell people that. Now, I want you to think about what the reaction would be from the general public. There would be panic. People would be going to the bank to take their money out of the bank. It'd be chaos. They wouldn't be able to control it. There would be protests. There would be riots. Think about what drug cartels would do, okay? And that's probably why you are going to see heightened crime in certain areas where drug cartels are very prevalent, because for the most part, they operate off of cash only. And in all reality, guys, transitioning over to this system could really eliminate so much criminality. It really, and I thought about this the first week is when I figured all this out. I said, oh, Lord, this is going to lead to, drug cartels and criminal operations outside of the white collar criminal operations that we all live under, unfortunately. But the other ones, this is going to be chaos because they're going to be cut off more or less. Now, they'll figure alternative ways around it, but it's going to be much more difficult for them. But there has to be information warfare. The point that I'm trying to make is there has to be information warfare, because they can't come out and tell people what they're doing directly. They can do it indirectly the way that they have. They've laid out the roadmap, okay? Lord, the lady, Pippa Malmgren, the economist, the former Bush advisor, said, we're abandoning the old system of money and accounting, and we're moving to the new system on the blockchain. So when she says that, and I know that to be true based on all the other information that's publicly available, I'm just exchanging my old money for my new money. That's it. And fortunately, the new money has the added benefit of also being intellectual property of new tech companies that have tons of exponential growth coming ahead of it, because they're going to be adopted around the world, because that's the plan, is to implement this new system and these new technologies. And it's just a matter of waiting it out. Okay, so that's that. Now, again, guys, the goal of the exercise, but there has to be information warfare, okay? You need to understand this, because if people knew what was going on, they would revolt. Maybe not now, because they're beaten down, they're demoralized from what's happened over the last few years. But in a traditional sense, people would revolt if they knew what was going on, if they really knew the depths of what was happening right now. So there has to be so much propaganda and psychological warfare coming out that it keeps people at bay. It keeps people in the dark and confused, while behind the scenes everything is going on and they're moving forward with their agenda. Okay, now the next part of this is the goal of the exercise. I've said this many, many times, dating back many, many months. Okay, and that was that they're going to continue to manipulate these markets so they make people feel like they have nowhere to go. And if you're looking at what's happening right now in crypto, again, guys, what's happening in crypto is relative to what's happening in other markets. Look at what's happening with the stock market. If you're in bonds, you're losing money. If you're in cash, you're losing money. If you're in gold and silver, you're probably flat. But over the last 10 years, you've really been losing money against numerous other things. Outside of cash, you've been losing money for the most part if you've been in gold and silver over the last 10 years. Now, you know that I've been accumulating silver. I am a fan of silver. I'm technically a fan of gold too. I just don't have any. And if I had more money, I would buy more gold. I feel like over time, I will try to accumulate gold, given where the price of it's going to be. I'll feel it out as we go. But so I'm not against silver. I'm just talking about the relativity of investments. And when you're looking at what's happening in crypto right now, it is relative to what is happening in other assets, in other asset classes. And when I look at the landscape of everything that's going on right now, there's nowhere where I would want to be more so than if they're going to get rid of the old system and implement the new system. I want to be in the new system. It's that simple. I don't need to get into all the other stuff about recession. And we're not going into a recession. We're going into a total apocalyptic economic collapse of epic proportions, all right? the likes of which we have never seen in our lifetime. That's what we're going into. We're not going into a recession, okay? The recession happened. The economy's toast, all right? So the goal of the exercise is to have people looking at the landscape and saying, I have nowhere to go. Crypto's too risky. The stock market's overvalued and now it's starting to come down. The bond market, I'm losing money. Cash, I'm losing money. Gold and silver hasn't moved in 10 years for the most part. And the real estate market is now in this huge bubble, and anything could happen with that. So that's what the normal everyday Joe would be thinking, looking at the different options today and saying, I have nowhere to go. I don't know what to do. Like there's nowhere for me to go. There's not going to be any winners here. But money has to go somewhere. There has to be winners, okay? And for me personally, if I know what they're doing, I'm going to bet on that. And I'm going to say, I'm going to ride it out because I know they're not going to make it easy. If they were going to make it easy, everybody would rush in at the same time. If it was that obvious, if they were promoting it by all the only way they can keep everybody in the dark is by suppressing the price, because they're coming out and they're having the billionaires say, I'm buying Bitcoin, I'm buying crypto. They're having all the institutions come out and adopt this new technology. They're having all the banks adopt this new technology. Look at what happened with Goldman Sachs issuing its first Bitcoin-backed loan. Think about where we are. Think about where we were 12 months ago and where we are today. Fidelity now allowing Bitcoin as an option for all their 401k clients, and they have so many, it's insane. I can't even... Every time I meet with a company, I just assume for the most part that their 401k is with Fidelity, and more times than not, I'll be correct, because so many companies have their 401k with Fidelity. So we're seeing all of these things happen. What's the only way that they can keep people in the dark? And that's suppress the price until something happens, okay? Something's going to happen, or a series of somethings are going to happen. There's going to be mass movements within markets, okay? Because they've suppressed certain assets and they have inflated other assets. And that's just the way that they've done this. And in my opinion, that's been a part of the bigger picture here to keep people confused and off balance on where to go. So for me personally, looking back today, would it have been a better option for me to just sit and not do anything over the last year, watching all of Wall Street, all of big tech, all the big billionaires, all countries adopt this new technology? Would it have been a smarter move for me to sit back and watch that happen and just sit in cash and do nothing? Well, in hindsight, if I would have known what was going to happen with price action, it would have probably been better for me to wait until this weekend to just buy everything. But I don't have the luxury of being able to see the future. And in my personal opinion, going back 12 months, if we would have been told, we wouldn't have been told what was going to happen with price action, but we would have been told all major banks, corporations, and governments, all big tech, all the big billionaires, they're all going to adopt this. They're all going to give public announcements. And at the same time, where inflation is going to hit 8.5, probably 15%. And they're just going to move forward implementation at a rapid pace. If we would have been told that, but not told what was going to happen with price action, I think everybody would have bet money that the price of Bitcoin was going to be over 100K right now. All right, that's just not how it played out, okay? And it's not how it played out because they didn't want it to play out like that, okay? They didn't want it to play out like that because this allows them to accumulate cheaper Bitcoin and crypto. It also allows them to fool tons of retail investors and shake them out of the market, because they think that it's all over, right? They can't separate and compartmentalize what's happening with the price as to what's really happening with the adoption of these networks. They care more about the price action over a period of time than they do about the adoption of the technology. When the adoption of the technology, if continued at the rate that it's currently going, is going to lead to price appreciation, unless all the laws of economics and supply and demand and free markets and everything is just completely thrown out of the window. And even, I'm kind of being tongue-in-cheek there, because, guys, they need this to appreciate in price more so than we do. This is the machine, the revenue-generating source for governments, for one, but also for these corporations, because they're going to be holding these assets on their balance sheet, because they're going to be using these technologies to run their business. They're going to be the biggest stakeholders. They're going to be the validators on these networks. They're going to be the biggest stakeholders. So they're going to rely on these technologies to run their business, but they're also going to rely on holding these assets on their balance sheet, these appreciating assets. They're going to offset so many other losses that they're currently taking. You have to understand, look at everything's getting hit. Every single market is getting hit right now. All right. Every market is getting hit. So every market is getting hit for the institutions too, guys. You got to understand, governments are going to take big losses. Banks are going to take big losses. Corporations are going to take big losses. They're going to need something to be able to offset that. They're going to need something to be able to rebound this economy that they have destroyed and ran into the ground. And that's why they created a whole new asset class that they could roll out. It all has network effects. It has exponential growth left. They're going to be able to upgrade all of their technology to more secure, efficient technology, and they're going to be able to benefit from the price appreciation of these technologies because they're going to be some of the major, largest shareholders that are going to hold all these assets on their balance sheet because they're using these technologies. Okay, that's it. I'm done. I have no idea really what I just said over the last 25 minutes. But it made sense to me when I was saying it. So I'm not even going to watch this, and I'm just going to post this video, and that's that. That's my take on things, guys. Please make your own decisions, do your own research, make the decisions you are comfortable with. I don't ever want somebody to do something because I say this is what I'm doing. I want you to do it because you have the most confidence in that particular thing that you are doing. Okay, now is the time to take 100% responsibility for the decisions that you have made and that you are going to make. All right, it's not on anybody else. It's not on the government. It's not on anybody. It's on you to make the decisions that you feel like are best for you and that are going to put you in the best situation to be successful moving forward as we go through this global economic reset that we're currently living through right now. Okay, that's it. I will get back with you later today, probably this evening. I'm going to go spend the afternoon with my grandma, and take care. Have a good day. I'll see you in the next video.